We welcome you to Fresh Start Scotland. Come and join us at Fresh Start Scotland.
If we go into the book of Mark, chapter 8, verse 34. And if we can read 2 verses each as we go down, starting with David, Joel, and then Janet.
Mark 8, 32.
Yeah, Mark 8, verse 32 down.
Mark 8, verse 32 is...
32. And
32 down to just a verse, one verse, is it? He spoke plainly about this, and Peter took him aside and began to rebuke him. But when Jesus turned and looked at his disciple, he rebuked Peter. "Get behind me, Satan," he said. "You do not have in mind the things of God, but the things of men." Verse 34.
Yep. Joel.
Me?
Yep.
When he had called the people to himself, with his disciples also, he said to them, "Whoever desires to come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross and follow me. For whoever desires to save his life will lose it, but whoever loses his life for my sake and the gospel's will save it."
Janet.
Verse 35
6.
or 36. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? Verse 38.
Whosoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed when he cometh in the glory of his Father with the holy angels. Now I know there's a lot in there. Number one, get thee behind me, Satan, in our Saviour, not the things be of God, but the things be of men. Things that are not of God. We've got to learn the difference and discern what is of God and what is of men. And some of the things we know that are of men. We've only got to look at your 10 commandments. They were to show man his fallen nature and his sin. You've only got to look at the fruits of the Spirit. I fell into one of them today, even after church. You know, I have this pet hate, strong word, Lord, forgive me, but of cyclists that take up the road. And my attitude is, well, you should be paying tax. And then they have the cheek to jump the red light. And there's a red cycle box there for them. And I pulled up and I stopped and all the rest of it. But I could see they had the attitude, we're on the road. They didn't even stop in the red box. And they just went through the red light. You know, hence I had to catch them up and let them know I wasn't happy. And then it says in 14, and when he had called the people under him with his disciples also, he said unto them, "Whosoever will come after me, let him deny himself and take up his cross." Just think on them that little line there. Whoever will come after me. What is it that you're chasing after Christ? That you are willing to take up your cross. There's a cross that you will bear. And I believe when he's talking of taking up his cross, deny himself and take up his cross, that's your consequence of your decision. That cross you have to bear. The consequence is the cross. There's something that you will have to bear. You have to look at the cost when you're following Christ. Whoever shall or will come after me, let him deny himself. So think about this today. Let's think about this year. Have you denied yourself as a follower of Jesus Christ? Just take a moment. Think about it. Sit back, relax in your chair, close your eyes, and think about just this year. How, as a follower, we confess to be followers of Jesus Christ. How have you denied yourself? And through that denying of yourself, you've had to pick up the cross. Then follow Christ. Oh Lord, prepare me to be a sanctuary, pure and holy, tried and true. With thanksgiving, I'll be a living sanctuary for you. There's a price for the Lord to prepare you to be a sanctuary for him. Then he goes on to say, for whosoever will save his life shall lose it, but whosoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. Whosoever. So he's asking you, you want to follow me? What's the price you're willing to pay? What's the sacrifice you're willing to sacrifice? What's the cross you're willing to bear? What's the cross you're willing to carry, knowing you're going to be crucified when you reach the top of the hill? And it's interesting, whoever shall save his life shall lose it. But whoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's. This isn't about losing your life and being great and having a big house and being popular and being the most popular one in the church or in the village or anything like that. This is about, are you willing to pay a price and pick up a cross for the gospel? If you're truly going to follow Christ, Christ is the Christ of the gospel. Did he not come for your salvation? Is the gospel not your salvation? The good news that you have salvation. Whoever shall lose his life for my sake and the gospel's, the same shall save it. Verse 36, for what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Think about this. Lose his own, that is not just words. We're talking about your life. It says in Genesis 2:7, for God formed man from the dust of the earth, he breathed into his nostrils, and he became a living soul. We're talking about losing your life. Lose his own soul. That's why, as I was preaching in church this morning, we're in the world, but we're not part of it. The things of this world should not interest us. Whether we're living in a tent or we got a brick house or we've got a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom mansion should be irrelevant to us. We should be willing to sacrifice whatever we have, our breath and everything in us for the gospel of Jesus Christ, for the work of Jesus Christ. what shall it profit you if you don't? Because everything that you don't do for Christ has no value. It's going to die. It's going to wither. There will be a new creation. And whosoever therefore shall be ashamed, verse 38, of me, of my words in this adulterous and sinful generation, of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed. Whoever therefore shall be ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation. How many of us sitting here today would be embarrassed to turn around and say, I'm not bowing the knee? And the reason I'm not bowing the knee is because that the Black Lives Matter started as a lesbian, two lesbians together, and it was all about gay rights, not about the black people's rights. How many people, how many Christians have bowed the knee? Because you're too ashamed to tell the truth. You're too ashamed to turn around and say to your buddies on the building site, when you're saying, oh, F Jesus, you're cursing Christ. Being ashamed of Christ. Being ashamed to speak something which is of Christ. Even if you go around a friend's house, who you imagine, David, you go to one of your old army buddies and they're not Christians, are you going to say grace? Or are you ashamed with your old army buddy to say grace? Because he's
well, I can answer that. I can answer that straight off.
Go on, answer. Yeah,
grace is no big issue, simply because it actually is. In most regiments, most units, it is used anyway. But some people try to be smart about it. But if you give a sincere grace, that's a very telling witness. That is.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's.
I'm at my old army buddy's house right now. I'm sitting in his office, right, and I'm like you. I've shared the grace with the food. Bless his food in Jesus' name. Blah blah. And I'm spoke to him and give him the gospel, because I don't know what could happen when I'm driving home. Something could happen. I don't know.
Yeah.
So for me, I've learned that, you know, when it comes to the gospel, you have to speak it. If you don't speak it, then you don't release the life of them words in the spirit form for that person to receive it in the spirit. We make it a very much mental thing. Remember him and blah, blah, blah. But at the end of the day, you can't go by your thoughts, your ways. They're not God's thoughts and they're not God's ways. And I know one thing, what I've learned of you in the short time that we've known each other, David, you're a man of your word and a man of integrity. And you're not fear, you might be unsure, but I don't see fear. And I didn't hear fear in your voice. I think it's just the right time to do it when you need to do it. It's the right time. I'm saying now is the time for you to do it. I'm very serious. Me, I'm not. You know me by now, I suppose. I'm one of them straight people. You know, you can be the major general brigadier of whatever you want. Good luck to you. But at the end of the day, the truth is the truth. And I think people are waiting. Look at this verse we're using. We're waiting for the gospel. Christ is saying, you know, follow me, sacrifice, pick up your cross. There's a cross you're going to have to bear, and it's called your own embarrassment. Your own weaknesses of whether you're capable or not capable. I'm just using you as a live example, David, all right?
Thank you.
And it says, whoever shall therefore be ashamed of me and my words in this adulterous and sinful generation. Look at that. Are we not in an adulterous, sinful generation? Now's the time. Now is the time. Of him also shall the Son of Man be ashamed. Can you imagine that Christ can be ashamed of you? You're born again, you're in Christ. But Christ can be ashamed of you. Was Peter not a follower of Jesus Christ? Was he not one of the main kingpins of Jesus Christ's little gang? Eh? Is the armor bearer of the posse in Jerusalem. I really, really encourage us to take account of where we're at in our walk with Christ. Take account that one day you will meet with God and God will ask you, or you'll see your buddy there and you think, oh, excellent, my buddy Harry's made it. I was going to witness to him, but I never got round to it. Thank God someone didn't hang around and they did get round to it. And that's why Harry's waiting for you the other side of the gate. But God said, but I'll put your name on him. What I don't want when I get there is God say, I don't know your name. I don't know your name. I don't know your name. I want God to be able to say, Martyn, you were a plonker, right? You were a proper dipstick. But your heart was always for me. Your heart was always burning and fighting for me. Yes, you walked out, you picked the mic up, you stood in the middle of Stirling and you preached the gospel like a proper dipstick, right? And I know you was struggling, embarrassing, stuttering, but you preached it. My faithful friend, you preached it. That's what I want to hear from God. Well done, my true and faithful friend. I'm going to leave you with that thought. And then just open up. Janet will give us another song just to think. And you know, we may not go to 7 o'clock tonight, I'm being honest with you. Let's see what God pulls up. Just think about them verses. Be reading them while she's singing.
Come and join us at Fresh Start Scotland